My friend gave me moldy cake for my birthday, then laughed. Well, it's not like you ever eat anything, Miss Diet Queen. Everyone laughed, except my boss, who had just arrived for a surprise. She whispered, "This is who you spend time with?" 2 days later, HR called me and turns out my promotion was at risk because of a viral video. Then I found out who posted it. I never really cared about my birthday. Some people live for it, the parties, the attention, the over-the-top social media posts. But for me, it was just another day. I never went out of my way to celebrate. If someone remembered, great. If they didn't, whatever. I wasn't one to expect balloons and cake. So when Mira, my best friend of over a decade, insisted on throwing me a birthday party this year, I hesitated. "You always skip it," she said, flipping her glossy black hair over her shoulder. "This year, I'm not letting you. It's gonna be fun. Just a small group, a little drinking, maybe some bad karaoke. What's the worst that could happen?" I sighed, knowing there was no winning against her. Mira had this way of making you feel boring if you didn't go along with her plans. It was part of her charm. She could convince anyone to do anything. Fine, I relented. But don't make it a big thing. Promise, she said with a wink. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was thinking Mira and I were still on the same page about our friendship. The party was set for Friday night at a trendy lounge downtown. I worked late, as usual, then rushed home to change. I kept it simple: black jeans, a fitted top, low heels. I wasn't the kind of person who spent hours perfecting an outfit. When I arrived, I instantly regretted it. It wasn't a small gathering. It was packed. Mira had invited half the city, it seemed. There were people from college, coworkers I barely spoke to, even a few guys I'd dated casually over the years. Music pounded, drinks flowed, and the air smelled like expensive perfume and tequila. "Happy birthday, Tessa." Mira squealed when she saw me, wrapping me in a tight hug. She reeked of vodka and excitement. "Took you long enough." "I was working," I said, scanning the room. "This is a lot." She laughed, pulling me toward a booth. "Relax. It's your night. Have fun for once." I tried. Really, I did. I made small talk, accepted drinks, smiled through conversations. But I felt out of place, like a guest at my own party. Mira was in her element, flitting from group to group, playing the perfect host. An hour in, I started checking the time. That's when she brought out the cake. It was big, covered in white frosting, with candles already lit. Everyone gathered around, cheering and pulling out their phones. I forced a smile. "You really didn't have to. Oh, shut up and make a wish." Mira interrupted, grinning. I leaned in, about to blow out the candles, when she said it. Loud, clear, in front of everyone. "Well, it's not like you ever eat anything, Miss Diet Queen." Laughter. So much laughter. I froze, the air escaped out of my lungs. My heart pounded. People were laughing. At me. I forced a tight smile, trying to ignore the sting. I'd heard Mira make comments about my eating habits before, jokes about how I always ordered salads, how I counted calories. But this was different. Then, someone cut into the cake. And gagged. Mira?" Tyler, one of our mutual friends, grimaced at his plate. "This cake is moldy." The laughter died down. A few people leaned in, peering at the now crumbled mess on the table. Greenish patches dotted the inside. Someone cursed. Someone else laughed. My stomach twisted. Mira, unbothered, just giggled. Oops. Guess I should have checked the expiration date. I stared at her, searching her face for any sign of embarrassment. Regret. Something. Nothing. She knew. She'd done this on purpose. I felt my hands clench at my sides. But before I could say anything, a familiar voice spoke softly behind me. "This is who you spend time with?" I turned. Victoria Caldwell. My boss. My mentor. The one person I'd been trying to impress for the last 5 years. And she'd just walked in on this humiliating circus. My stomach dropped. She didn't stay long. Just long enough to give me one final look, pitying, disappointed, before disappearing back into the crowd. I barely remembered the rest of the night. I just knew, deep down, that something had just shifted. 2 days later, HR called me in. I sat stiffly in the cold, glass-walled office, hands clenched in my lap. The head of HR, Jessica, clicked on a video. And there it was. The entire cake incident filmed and uploaded to TikTok. Over 100,000 views. The caption? POV, when your corporate queen bestie forgets how to have fun, face with ears of joy, face with ears of joy, face with ears of joy, #diet culture, #lighten up, #BFF goals. The room felt smaller. Jessica sighed. Victoria is concerned. She fought for your promotion, but now this video is all over LinkedIn. There's speculation about workplace harassment. What? My voice came out sharp. I wasn't part of this. Jessica gave me a look. We know. But public perception matters, Tessa. I swallowed hard. This could affect your career, she continued. Your reputation. I was shaking. And then I saw the username. Mira. I didn't confront her right away. I let it simmer. She texted me a few times, casual, as if nothing had happened. I ignored her. Then, a week later, she sent a long, dramatic message. Mira, are you mad at me? I feel like you're being weird. I stared at the screen. Then, finally, I responded. Me, did you post that video? Mira, OMG, seriously? You're mad about that? It was just a joke. Everyone thought it was funny. I exhaled slowly. Me, funny. Got it. Then I blocked her. But I wasn't done. Mira was an influencer. A mid-tier one, but still. She thrived on sponsorships, brand deals, partnerships. And I knew exactly how to hit her where it hurt. I started making quiet, careful suggestions to my contacts. Oh, I'd be careful working with her. She has a habit of publicly humiliating people. Did you see that viral video? Imagine if your brand got caught in something like that. It didn't take long. One by one, her partnerships started pulling out. She started losing followers. Then came the final blow. She lost her biggest sponsorship. And then, finally, she called me. Sobbing. Tess, I don't know what's happening, she cried. Everything's falling apart. I sipped my coffee, staring out at the city skyline. That's rough, I said. Guess you should have checked the expiration date. I never spoke to her again. I watched the phone screen go dark, Myra's name vanishing as I ended the call. My heart wasn't pounding. My hands weren't shaking. I felt nothing. She deserved it. For days, I ignored the messages that followed. The long-winded texts, the desperate voicemails, the occasional passive-aggressive social media posts. I knew Mira better than anyone. At first, she'd play the victim. Then, when that didn't work, she'd get angry. It played out exactly like I expected. First, the apologies. Mira, Tess, please. Can we talk? I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just messing around. I thought you knew that. You've been my best friend for years. Are you really throwing that away over one joke? Then came the justifications. It wasn't even that bad. People joke around like that all the time. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Seriously, I didn't know the cake was moldy. That was just bad luck. Then, the accusations. Wow, you're actually enjoying this, aren't you? So you're just going to pretend you're perfect? Like you've never made a mistake? And finally, the rage. You're such a hypocrite. Enjoy your boring little life without me. I didn't answer a single one. Mira could scream into the void all she wanted. The damage was done. But I wasn't naive. She wasn't the type to just let things go. I knew she'd come for me eventually. And when she did, I'd be ready. At work, things were tense. The video scandal had mostly died down, but the whispers lingered. People looked at me differently. Some avoided eye contact. Some stared too long, like they were waiting for me to crack. Victoria, thankfully, never mentioned it again. But I could feel the shift. She was watching me, testing me. It didn't matter that I wasn't the one who posted the video. In our world, the corporate world, perception was reality. I had to prove I could control the narrative. That I could handle damage control. That I wasn't some foolish woman getting publicly humiliated by her best friend at 35 years old. So I worked harder. I stayed later. I volunteered for every high-stakes project. I refused to let this be the thing that defined me. Mira, meanwhile, was unraveling. The influencer world was fickle. 1 second, you were the it girl. The next, you were irrelevant. Losing her biggest sponsorship had been the beginning of the downfall. Then came the TikTok drama accounts. People started digging into her old content, finding problematic jokes, questionable comments. Brands that once courted her suddenly weren't returning her calls. Her follower count started dropping. And the best part? She couldn't pin any of it on me. I'd never said a word publicly. I'd never posted about her, never engaged with the gossip. She was drowning, and from the outside, it looked like she'd done it all to herself. But then, she did something I didn't expect. She showed up at my office. I had just finished a meeting when I stepped into the hallway and saw her. Mira, standing there. In my workplace. She was dressed like she always was, perfectly styled, makeup flawless, designer handbag slung over her shoulder. But up close, I saw the cracks. She looked tired. Her skin was paler than usual. Her smile was tight. Tess, she said, too brightly. Got a minute? I didn't. And even if I did, I wouldn't have given it to her. This isn't the place, I said coolly. Please, she said, quieter now. Just 5 minutes. I glanced around. People were staring. Great. With a sigh, I motioned toward a side hallway, away from prying eyes. She followed, her heels clicking against the polished floor. When we were alone, she turned to me, folding her arms. Okay, she said. Tell me the truth. I raised a brow. About what? You did this. Her voice was sharp now, accusing. You've been going around trashing my name, haven't you? I scoffed. I don't need to trash your name, Mira. You did that all by yourself. Her eyes flashed. Bullshit. Everything started going wrong the second you cut me off. I know how connected you are. I know you've been talking to people. I gave her a slow, cold smile. I talk to a lot of people. Her jaw clenched. You're ruining my life, she said, her voice cracking. I tilted my head. Funny. That's exactly how I felt the night you humiliated me in front of 100 people. She exhaled sharply, gripping her purse like she wanted to throw it. This is so messed up, she muttered, shaking her head. Is it? I crossed my arms, because I think it's karma. Her lips parted like she was going to argue. Then, suddenly, she laughed. A dry, humorless, bitter laugh. You know what? She said, eyes glinting. Fine. You win. Congratulations, Tessa. I waited. But let's see how long you stay on top, she added, stepping closer. Because people like you think you're untouchable. You think you can manipulate things from the shadows and get away with it. She leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. But no one stays clean forever. She smiled, slow, knowing. And then she walked away. I should have felt satisfied. I had destroyed Myra's career. Exposed her for what she was. Taken back my power. But as I stood in that empty hallway, something else settled in my stomach. A feeling I couldn't quite shake. Because Mira wasn't just throwing empty threats. She was planning something. And I had no idea what it was. I kept my composure as I walked back to my office, my heels clicking against the polished floor. But inside, I was replaying every word, every little smirk, every veiled threat. Let's see how long you stay on top. It wasn't an empty warning. I knew Mira too well. She wasn't the type to slink away and lick her wounds. If she couldn't win one way, she'd find another. And that meant I had to stay ahead of her. For the next few weeks, I kept my ears open. Mira had gone quiet. Too quiet. No more desperate texts. No more Instagram posts about how fake people always reveal themselves. She wasn't even trying to claw her way back onto the influencer scene. It was unnerving. Because Mira was a fighter. A strategist. And I knew she wasn't done. Then, one afternoon, I found out exactly what she had been planning. It started with a call from Jessica, the head of HR. Hey, Tessa, she said, her tone careful. Do you have a second? I did. But something about her voice made my stomach twist. Sure, I said slowly. What's going on? A pause. Then, we received a complaint. About you. I sat in HR, hands folded, face unreadable. I wouldn't let them see me sweat. Jessica slid a file across the table. An anonymous report came in about workplace belying. I opened the file, scanning the printed screenshots. Emails. Messages. A few Slack conversations. All doctored. They made it look like I had been sabotaging junior employees. Spreading rumors. Intimidating staff. I exhaled sharply. This is ridiculous. We know, Jessica said. But we have to investigate. I looked up. And by we, you mean. Jessica hesitated. Victoria. This was Mira. She couldn't destroy my reputation online, so she was coming for me professionally. And the worst part? She knew exactly where to hit me. I had spent years building my career. My work ethic, my reputation, my credibility, it was everything to me. Mira had watched me claw my way up the corporate ladder. And now, she was trying to pull me down. I gripped the armrest of my chair, willing my voice to stay calm. Jessica, you know me. You know I would never, she raised a hand. I believe you, Tessa. And honestly, Victoria does too. That made me pause. She does? Jessica nodded. But the board doesn't. And if this gains traction, it could be bad for the company's image. I swallowed. What are you saying? Jessica leaned forward, her voice softer now. You need to find out who did this. I almost laughed. I already knew, but now I had to prove it. I didn't waste time. I spent the next few days retracing every step, every possible lead. I checked email timestamps, call logs, anything that could point me to Mira. But she had been smart. She hadn't left a trail. So I had to change tactics. If I couldn't find evidence, I had to draw her out. I waited until late evening when the office was mostly empty. Then, I pulled out my phone and sent a single text. To Mira. Me, you win. Let's talk. She read it immediately. 3 dots appeared. Then, Mira, I thought you blocked me. Me, unblocked you just for this. Meet me at our old spot? She took her time responding. Then, Mira, 9 p.m. Don't be late. The old spot was a quiet bar we used to go to in college, tucked away in a side street, just out of the city's main chaos. It wasn't trendy. It wasn't loud. It was where we had spent countless nights, nursing cheap wine and talking about our futures. And now? It was enemy territory. I arrived early, choosing a booth in the back. The air smelled of whiskey and burnt wood, the same as it had years ago. At exactly 9:05, Mira walked in. She looked different. Less polished. Less put together. Her hair was messier, her eyes a little darker. She wasn't wearing her usual designer heels, just sneakers and a jacket. For a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered why we were here. She slid into the seat across from me, raising an eyebrow. Didn't think I'd hear from you again. I took a slow sip of my drink. I wanted to see the woman who went from posting viral TikToks to submitting fake HR complaints. She smirked. Fake? I don't know what you're talking about. I leaned in. Cut the crap, Mira. She tilted her head, playing innocent. Tess, if you're having workplace issues, that's not my fault. I exhaled sharply, gripping the edge of the table. This is low, even for you. Her smirk faded. For a moment, she studied me. Then, she set her drink down, her fingers tapping against the glass. You took everything from me, she said quietly. Everything. I didn't say anything. You ruined my career, Tess. Do you have any idea what it's like to wake up one day and realize that no one wants to work with you anymore? I met her gaze, my voice even. You did that to yourself. Her jaw tightened. No, you did it. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Mira, you humiliated me. In front of my boss. In front of the entire internet. It was a joke. No, I snapped. It was a power move. And when it backfired, you played the victim. She laughed bitterly. And what, you're the hero in all this? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't. I wasn't proud of what I had done. I wasn't proud of the quiet whispers I had planted in boardrooms, the careful suggestions that had nudged brands away from her. But I wasn't sorry either. She leaned back, shaking her head. You always had to be the one in control. Even in college. Even now. I stayed silent. Then, suddenly, she smiled. But it wasn't her usual CY grin. It was smaller. Meaner. You think this is over, don't you? She murmured. I narrowed my eyes. She leaned in, lowering her voice to a whisper. You have no idea what's coming. And with that, she slid out of the booth, grabbed her coat, and walked out. I sat there for a long time, gripping my drink. Because for the first time since this entire mess began, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just unease. I sat there, staring at the spot where Mira had been just seconds ago, her words still ringing in my ears. You have no idea what's coming. I hated that she'd gotten the last word. Hated that for the first time, I wasn't sure I had the upper hand. But I wasn't going to sit around waiting for her to make her move. I had worked too hard, built too much, to let Mira, of all people, take me down. So if she wanted a war, I'd make damn sure she lost. The next morning, I went into full damage control mode. I had no idea what Mira was planning, but I had a strong suspicion it was going to be big. And I couldn't afford any weaknesses. So I started cleaning house. I went through every professional connection, every colleague, every mutual acquaintance we had. I sent out feelers, casual but strategic. If she was trying to spread more lies about me, I needed to get ahead of it. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I hired a private investigator. His name was Dominic Pierce, a no-nonsense ex-cop who now specialized in corporate fraud and digital forensics. I found him through a quiet referral, someone who owed me a favor. He didn't ask many questions. Just took the file I gave him, Myra's name, her known associates, her recent activities, and nodded. I'll find out what she's up to, he said simply. Give me a week. I gave him 3 days. And then I waited. It didn't take long for the first BMB to drop. 2 days after my meeting with Dominic, I walked into the office and everything felt off. People were whispering, watching me. Some looked away too quickly when I caught their gaze. Then, Jessica from HR appeared in my doorway. Tessa, she said, looking uncomfortable. We need to talk. Now. My stomach dropped. Inside the HR office, Victoria was waiting. That was never a good sign. I kept my face neutral as I sat down, smoothing out my skirt. What's going on? Jessica exhaled, sliding her laptop toward me. This was posted anonymously last night, she said. It's making the rounds internally. And externally. I glanced at the screen and felt my blood turn to ice. It was a leaked email. A doctored one. It was made to look like I had sent confidential company information to a competitor. Corporate espionage. I escaped in a breath. Mira. This was it. This was her move. I forced myself to stay calm. This is fake. We know, Victoria said, finally speaking. The timestamps don't match our internal servers. But that doesn't mean this won't cause problems. I swallowed hard. This is getting out, she continued. Someone is actively trying to destroy your reputation, Tessa. And whether it's true or not, the board is starting to get nervous. I clenched my hands into fists beneath the table. Mira wanted me out. And she wasn't just playing dirty, she was going for the KLL shot. I left the meeting with my job still intact for now. But I had no illusions. Mira had officially escalated this into something far worse than petty revenge. This was career assassination. And if she thought I was going to roll over and let it happen, she was about to learn just how ruthless I could be. That night, Dominic called me. Got something, he said. Meet me in person. I found him at a hole-in-the-wall diner on the other side of the city. He was already at a booth, nursing a cup of coffee, looking as tired and sharp as ever. He slid a folder across the table. She's been busy, he said. I opened the file. Inside were financial records, screenshots of text messages, a timeline of her movements over the last few weeks. And then, buried near the back, a contract. I felt my breath catch. This is a PR firm, I muttered, scanning the page. She hired a crisis management team? Dominic nodded. Not just any team. A firm that specializes in taking people down. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment revenge plot, Tessa. He met my gaze. She's been planning this for a while. I flipped through more documents. And then, something caught my eye. An email draft. It was from Mira to someone at a major online news outlet. My heart pounded as I read the subject line. Anonymous tip, corporate fraud S. Seendal at Ashwood and Lane. She wasn't just coming after my reputation internally. She was trying to turn this into a national S. Seendal. I closed the folder, my hands shaking. Then I took a deep breath. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. Because Mira had finally made a mistake. And I was about to burn her world to the ground. I walked out of the diner with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. Mira had played her hand. She had spent weeks, months, carefully orchestrating my downfall, hiring professionals, crafting a narrative that would make me look like a villain. And now? I had proof. I had the email, the PR firm contract, the text messages, the paper trail. She thought she was being smart, thought she was covering her tracks. But Mira always had one fatal flaw. She underestimated me. I wasn't going to fight her on her terms. I was going to flip the script. The next morning, I walked into the office with my head high. People were still whispering about the leaked email, still side-eyeing me like I was radioactive. But I ignored them. I went straight to Victoria's office. She looked up as I stepped inside, her expression unreadable. This isn't a good time, Tessa. I dropped Dominic's folder onto her desk. I think it is. She frowned, flipping through the contents. As she read, her brows furrowed. Then her eyes widened. She looked up sharply. Where did you get this? I gave her a small smile. Let's just say, I have good instincts. She exhaled, rubbing her temples. Jesus. She really hired a PR firm just to destroy you. I nodded. And she's been feeding fake stories to the press. Victoria set the folder down, tapping her fingers against the desk. If this gets out, she's finished. I tilted my head. And if it doesn't? She smirked. Then we make sure it does. I sent Mira a text. Meet me at the old place. One last time. I didn't expect her to say yes. But Mira was predictable. She loved a final showdown. And just as I expected, she showed up. This time, she was dressed to impress. Hair sleek, makeup flawless, designer heels back on. She wanted to look like the winner. She slid into the booth, smirking. Didn't think you'd have the guts to face me. I folded my hands on the table. I wanted to see the moment you realized you lost. She blinked, then laughed. Lost, she repeated, shaking her head. Tess, you're drowning. Your career is hanging by a thread. The board doesn't trust you. The press is circling like vultures. And the best part? She leaned in. You did it to yourself. I let her gloat. Let her savor the moment. Then I pulled out my phone, turned it toward her, and hit play. Her own email draft appeared on the screen. The one exposing my corporate fraud to the press. Her smirk faltered. Funny thing about email drafts, I mused. Even if you don't send them, they still leave a trace. She froze. I tapped the screen again. Another image appeared. The PR firm contract. Her own messages plotting my takedown. Her face drained of color. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen, Mira. Her jaw clenched. You know, I cut her off. You're going to listen. She went silent. First, you're going to call that PR firm and tell them the contract is void. Then, you're going to send an official statement retracting every lie you spread about me. And finally, I tilted my head. You're going to disappear. Quietly. She swallowed hard. And if I don't? I smiled. Then everything in this folder goes to the press. Her eyes flickered with something close to panic. I let that sink in. Let her feel the weight of it. Then I delivered the final blow. Oh, and one more thing, I added, feigning an afterthought. You might want to check your email. She hesitated, then pulled out her phone. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. Because there, waiting in her inbox, was a cease and desist letter from my company's legal team. Signed by Victoria. You see, I said lightly, Victoria doesn't like people messing with her employees. And the board? They don't like bad PR. Myra's breath hitched. You're out of options, I continued. So be smart. Take the out I'm giving you. She sat there stunned. Silent. Then, slowly, she set her phone down. And nodded. The next morning, an apology post appeared on Myra's Instagram. It was vague, something about misunderstandings and poor choices and taking a step back from social media. Her PR firm dropped her. The S-scandal around me? Vanished. A few days later, an email went out to the company. Mira Lattimore has resigned from all current projects, effective immediately. She was done. And me? I walked into work that morning to find Victoria waiting. She didn't say much. Just handed me a file. Inside? A promotion offer. I looked up, stunned. Are you serious? Victoria smirked. You handled a PR nightmare without breaking a sweat. That's leadership material. I exhaled, letting it sink in. Mira was gone. My career was safe. And I had come out stronger. I shook Victoria's hand. And for the first time in months, I felt completely in control. A week later, I received one last text from Mira. Mira, I hope it was worth it. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it. And finally, I blocked her number. Mira was the past. And I was just getting started.